Good morning to everyone. In today's labor market, the key challenge is no longer only access to jobs, but the ability to understand the full potential of people, not only through their qualification, but increasingly through the skills that complement them. Skills are no longer simply an addition to qualification. They have become essential for employability, adaptability, and economic resilience, in a rapidly changing world. As labor markets evolve under the impact of digital and green transitions, demographic change, migration, and technological progress, the demand for skills is changing faster than traditional systems can often follow. In this environment, public employment services are gaining a broader and more strategic role, not only as intermediaries between job seekers and employers, but institutions that connect people, skills, qualification, and opportunities across increasingly labor markets. Today, workers move between regions, countries, even continents, bringing with them not only formal qualification, but also knowledge and competences that are often acquired outside traditional education system. For this reason, modern labor markets increasingly depend on ability to recognize and to understand skills, regardless of where or how they were acquired. The challenge is therefore no longer only whether people possess skills, but whether these skills be identified, recognized, compared, and matched with labor market needs. This matters not only for workers and employers, but also for public employment services and economies as a whole, because the efficient use of human capital increasingly depends on how successfully these processes are connected. Digitalization plays a crucial role in this transformation by enabling faster and more transparent skill recognition, better matching with labor market demands, and more effective access to information, services, and lifelong learning opportunities. At the same time, continuous upskilling and reskilling throughout working life are becoming essential for helping workers adapt to new technologies, changing occupation, and the broader transformation of work. When qualifications, skills recognition, digitalization, and lifelong learning are brought together, labor markets become more resilient, inclusive, and responsive, and labor mobility becomes not only possible, but truly effective. This, ladies and gentlemen, we will be discussing this over the course of today and tomorrow. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, esteemed representatives of international communities and organizations, universities, and dear colleagues from public employment services, on behalf of the Labor and Employment Agency of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and on behalf of World Association of Public Employment Services, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to 2026 WAPES European Conference, Enhancing Skills for Public Employment Services, Challenges and Opportunities in Transforming Labor Markets. My name is Sanela Mešanović, and I have been given a great honor of serving as the Master of Ceremonies for this conference. Once again, welcome. And before we begin, I believe that we have to share a few practical pieces of information. As for agenda, to help you stay on track throughout the conference, you can easily access the agenda via the QR code on the back of your badge. Please use the hashtags when you are sharing photos and news from this conference. And to not forget, I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to the EU delegation to Bosnia and Herzegovina, to International Organization for Migration, and for Mosaic Foundation for their support in organization of this event. Now, we will move to the opening remarks and welcome addresses. I would first like to invite Mr. Ivan Barbalić, host of the conference, Director of the Labor and Employment Agency of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much. Wow, it's a great pleasure, and it's fantastic that we have this opportunity to be hosts. For us, this is very important, and I believe this is not a small thing for our city and for our country. What we discuss is very important. Labor market issues are something that is really becoming in the core of discussions and observations, and I think for the policymakers it's one of the areas where really added effort is necessary, and I think that employment services really play a crucial role. So being here today, sharing the views, comparing our experiences and finding the solutions, that's something that is really appreciated. And I think that we really chosen good topics because skills is something that is really a novel thing to do for many of us. I can say probably in Bosnia and maybe even in the region, changing the perspective of how we look at the labor market through the skills is something that is still a challenge, but I think it's necessary, and we are here to learn and also share what are the difficulties that we have to face. But still, having people from all different fields of work in this area, being here today, people from all these countries, people from our friend institutions that we together organize this event, it's something that really makes us proud, and we love to be hosts. I just heard the example from my colleague from Croatia. She said that the tram, she took a ride with the tram, and the tram driver stopped between two stations just for her to be closer to hotel. Listen, if I asked here from Sarajevo, the driver, I mean, these are not the most friendly people in the world, right? So, I mean, we just love to be hosts. And so, please, I hope you're going to enjoy the stay in Sarajevo. We're here for you, and let's do some good work. And, of course, at night, let's have a great time. Thank you very much, and enjoy.
I would now like to invite Mr. Mehmet Altun, Vice President of the WAPES for European Region and Head of Foreign Relations and Project Departments in Turkish Employment Agency, İŞKUR. Mehmet, please take the
floor. Thanks, Sanella. Distinguished Director General, esteemed colleagues, distinguished friends, it's both a great honor and deeply responsibility to address you today on behalf of İŞKUR and WAPES European region at a time when the future of work is being reshaped before our eyes. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Labor and Employment Agency of Bosnia and Herzegovina for hosting us in this remarkable city. Sarajevo, with its rich history, resilience, and spirit of coexistence, provides a most fitting setting for a conference dedicated for hosting us in this remarkable city. And I would also like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the WAPES Secretariat, to Mr. Ramandin, and to all colleagues involved in organizing this conference. Your commitment to strengthening dialogue and cooperation among public employment services across the world is truly invaluable. Dear colleagues, the very fact that we are gathered here today is in itself a powerful reminder of why WAPES matters. In a world where labor markets are transforming at an unprecedented pace, no public employment service can navigate this journey alone. We need cooperation, we need shared learning, we need a common vision. Because the challenges we face may differ in scale, but they are remarkably similar in nature. Across Europe and beyond, public employment services are navigating what can only be described as a perfect storm of labor market transformation. We are witnessing profound demographic shifts and aged populations, accelerating digital and green transitions, widening skills shortages across sectors, increasing labor mobility and migration, and rapidly changing expectations from both employers and job seekers. Together, these forces are redefining not only how economies function, but also what societies expect from public employment services. In response, PES institutions are evolving rapidly. We are no longer simply job matching institutions. We are becoming career partners, skill brokers, ecosystem coordinators, innovation facilitators, and strategic actors in social cohesion and economic resilience. And this transformation requires us to rethink not only the service we provide, but also the way we cooperate with governments, employers, education systems, social partners, and international organizations. Dear friends, in Turkey, skills development has become a central pillar of national employment and economic policy. Over recent years, we have significantly expanded active labor market programs, vocational training opportunities, lifelong learning initiatives, and employment support mechanisms to better prepare our workforce for the demands of a changing economy. At İŞKUR, we strongly believe that investing in people is not most sustainable investment any country can make. One of the flagship initiatives is Güç, the Productive Age of Youth, a nationwide program designed to support young people in their transition from education into sustainable employment. With a budget of approximately 15 billion euros, the initiative aims to support more than 3 million young people in entering the labor market within 3 years. It reflects our conviction that young people are not only the workforce of tomorrow, but also the driving force in initiatives, productivity, and social progress. At the same time, Turkey's experience has also shown us the importance of inclusive labor market policies in the context of migration and labor mobility. As many of you are aware, Turkey hosts one of the world's largest immigration populations, and this reality has required us to approach labor market integration not as a temporary response, but as a long-term strategic priority. At İŞKUR, we adopt a comprehensive and human-centered approach to migration integration. Our objectives is not only to facilitate access to employment, but also to support individuals in becoming productive, skilled, and self-sufficient members of the workforce and society. For this reason, we implement a broad range of active labor market policies tailored to the needs of both migrants and host communities. These inclusive vocational training programs, on-the-job training schemes, language and communication support, career counseling services, entrepreneurship guidance, and skills development initiatives align with labor market demands. At the same time, we work closely with employers, local authorities, international organizations, universities, municipalities, and civil society actors to strengthen social cohesion and ensure sustainable labor market integration. Particular emphasis is placed on women and young people, whose active participation in the labor market is essential for inclusive growth and long-term resilience. Our experience has clearly demonstrated that successful integration cannot be achieved through employment alone. It requires a holistic ecosystem built on skills, opportunity, dignity, and social inclusion. And perhaps most important, it requires cooperation. Because migration and labor mobility are no longer national issues alone, they are shared international responsibilities that require shared solutions. Distinguished colleagues, building on this perspective, Turkey recently had the honor of hosting OECD Skills Summit in Istanbul. The summit brought together ministers, policymakers, and international leaders from across the world around one central reality. Skills are becoming the defining currency of the modern labor market. One message emerged with expectation clarity. Skills are the new currency of the labor market. And with that understanding came three strategic priorities: building resilient and inclusive skill systems, strengthening lifelong learning and reskilling opportunities, and making skills visible, portable, and recognized across borders. These priorities align perfectly with the discussions we will have during this conference. Over the next 2 days, we will explore how public employment services can respond more effectively to skills shortages through better use of data, innovation, and cooperation. We will discuss labor mobility and skills recognition and how PES institutions can facilitate fair, transparent, and efficient workforce mobility across borders. And we will examine the future of role of PES in an era increasingly shaped by digitalization and artificial intelligence. Technology undoubtedly creates enormous opportunities. Artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, and digital platforms can help us improve efficiency, personalize services, and better anticipate labor market trends. But as we embrace technological transformation, we must also preserve the human dimension of our work. Because ultimately, public employment services are about people. Technology can amplify our reach. It can never replace our purpose. This is why high-quality counseling, trust-based communication, and human-centered services delivery will remain essential, regardless of how advanced technology becomes. Dear friends, none of challenges we face today can be addressed in isolation. Strong and durable partnership between public employment services, governments, employers, education providers, social partners, and international organizations are no longer optional. They are essential. And this conference represents exactly that spirit of partnership. It is a platform for dialogue, a platform for shared learning, and a platform for shaping the future together. With this understanding, I wish you all productive discussions, inspiring exchanges, and successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Altun. In the next part of this segment, we will hear from our key institutional partners, whose work plays a very important role in shaping labor markets, policies, and employment services. Through their engagement, European and global experiences and standards are being shared and gradually applied across Bosnia-Herzegovina and wider region, contributing to more coordinated and forward-looking labor market development. I would like now to invite Ms. Magdalena Mueller-Uri, Head of Cooperation at the Delegation of the European Union to Bosnia and Herzegovina. Ms. Uri, please take the floor.
Hvala. Dobro jutro. Good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to address you at today's conference on enhancing skills for public employment services. We are delighted to have financially supported this initiative through our project EU Support for Local Employment Partnerships. I would also like to thank the organizers for bringing together policymakers, practitioners, social partners, and employment experts to discuss one of the most important challenges Europe faces today: how to equip our citizens with the skills needed for a changing labor market, while ensuring that no one is left behind. Bosnia and Herzegovina's European path is fundamentally linked to reforms that improve the lives of citizens. Employment and social policies are central to this process. Alignment with the EU body of law, or what we call acquis communautaire, in the field of labor and employment is not merely a technical exercise. It is about building a fair, resilient, and competitive society. The European social model is based on principles that protect workers, promote equal opportunities, encourage social inclusion, and support economic growth. For Bosnia and Herzegovina, progress in these areas represents an opportunity to modernize labor market institutions, strengthen workforce participation, and improve employability of young people, women, persons with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups. Public employment services play a critical role in this transformation. They are not simply administrative structures, they are institutions of trust. They connect people to opportunities, businesses to talent, and reforms to real improvement in citizens' lives. In times of economic transition, technological change, demographic pressures, and shifting labor markets, their role becomes even more essential, as my previous speakers have already said. Bosnia and Herzegovina has significant human potential. But unlocking this potential requires reforms that are coherent, inclusive, and aligned with European standards. There can be no successful labor policy without meaningful dialogue. Labor markets are complex ecosystems. Governments alone cannot design effective solutions in isolation. Sustainable reforms require cooperation between institutions, as we already heard, institutions, employers, trade unions, education providers, and civil society. For this country, dialogue is particularly important given the institutional structure of the country and the need for coordinated approaches across different levels of governance. And public employment services can serve as important platforms for this cooperation. The challenges we face are shared across Europe. Youth unemployment, labor shortages, migration of skilled workers, digital transformation, and the green transition reshaping our labor markets. No country addresses these challenges alone. Conferences such as this one are valuable because they allow us to exchange experiences, learn from one another, build partnerships based on mutual trust and shared objectives. The EU remains firmly committed to supporting Bosnia and Herzegovina on its reform path. We will continue supporting initiatives that strengthen institutional capacities, improve service delivery, foster innovation, and encourage regional cooperation. Our support is practical, targeted, and focused on measurable impact. Our objective is not simply to fund projects. Our objective is to help build systems that are sustainable, effective, and centered on citizens' needs. In closing, let me reaffirm the EU commitment to supporting the employment sector in this country, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The EU has allocated more than 76 million under the reform agenda and growth plan for this country for the achievement of labor market reforms. Thank you.
Thank you once more. Now I would like to invite Mr. David Womble, Chief of Mission and Western Balkans Coordinator, IOM, actually, International Organization for Migration. Mr. Womble, please take the floor.
Gosh, good morning. You guys clapped before I made my remarks. That's wonderful. I'm super honored to be here. And I just want to start by saying, Ivan, you talked about your Croatian colleague mentioned what a great host Sarajevo is, and it's true. Last week, we had about 150 of our senior colleagues from Europe and Central Asia in Sarajevo, and I can attest it was a wonderful host city. I'm not sure if the tram stopped halfway, but it was wonderful. Thanks, Edis. IOM, so we're the migration agency, and several of you, my predecessors have already mentioned this. To me, this is one of the more uplifting and exciting aspects of our work. mean, IOM, we do humanitarian response. We responded to flood disasters here in Bosnia and Herzegovina late 2024. And that's unfortunate. I mean, we're happy to do so, but responding to natural disasters and displacement is not ideal. But labor mobility is incredibly ideal. So this is a part of the work that IOM supports that we're very excited about, and we see it as a real opportunity. Migration is certainly in the news a lot these days. It dominated the Munich Security Conference last year. But migration is nothing new. It's a phenomenon that's existed since the beginning of time. I come from the United States of America. My entire country was founded on migration. And Sarajevo, this amazingly beautiful city, is shaped, the entire landscape is shaped around migration. So it's a real force for positive. And so what we like, and what several of my predecessor comments have alluded to, Magdalena said this, it's about systems. Labor migration is a necessity and it's an inevitability, but it has to be founded on strong systems. And so that's where IOM is incredibly honored to be working with the employment of labor associations and with the government and with the private sector, and incredibly importantly with our friends the ILO on helping these systems make labor mobility and labor migration safe, regulated, predictable, because that's what economies need. They need predictability, they need to be able to plan and to have their investments protected. So I can't think of a more relevant organization than WAPES. I think for all of you who are here, this work is incredibly timely and relevant for Bosnia-Herzegovina, for Europe. And so we're very honored to be here. If I could maybe make one last comment. I consider myself a migrant. I haven't lived in the United States since 1995. Migration is such a positive thing, but also, Mehmet, you mentioned in your remarks about social cohesion. To me, that's one of the tougher nuts to crack, I should say. There is going to be a need for foreign labor in Bosnia-Herzegovina. In addition to the systems that underpin it, to what extent can that contribute to a cohesive society versus fragmenting it? And that's really the challenge I think that migration has, certainly in many countries in the world, no less here. So thank you once again for the opportunity to be here and to address you. Thank you very much, Selena, for being a wonderful MC, and I wish you all the best over the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Womble. Now I would like to invite Mr. Amer Kapetanović, General Secretary of Regional Cooperation Council. Mr. Kapetanović, the floor is yours.
Good morning to everyone. Dear Ivan, colleagues, thank you for inviting us. You know, I'm tempted a little bit, you know, after you told this story about tram drivers stopping in between two stations, and after all these inspiring speeches, I was thinking to myself, maybe as someone who is coming from Sarajevo, as a gesture, I should say I agree with everything my predecessors said and just leave the stage for the economy of time. But I think Radka would kill me, you know, because she wanted me to deliver this speech. And I think there is something I would like to share with you from the perspective of a regional organization, that has 25 governments in its board, that is covering so wide area of activities, including employment and social affairs. And I'm sure that organizers did not invite me here to deliver the protocolary speech, but actually to be honest and open. And I would like to take a bit of your time to do exactly that. So the title of this conference is well chosen, really, because labor markets are not changing only at the margins. They are being reshaped, as my predecessor has already pointed out, by demography, technology, migration, the green transition, the expectations of young people, and demands of employers. For the Western Balkans and Southeast Europe, this is not an abstract. Our region is facing a difficult loop. Low productivity slows wage convergence with the EU, slow convergence encourages emigration. Emigration reduces the labor force, a weaker labor force limits growth, and lower growth reduces capacity of governments to invest in education, innovation, and public services. So demography, productivity, and growth are one loop. If that loop is not broken, the region risks labor scarcity, fiscal pressure, skill mismatch, and permanent semi-convergence with the European Union. So the Western Balkans, to our and to my humble opinion, do not only have unemployment problem. We increasingly have employability problem, a productivity problem, a skills problem, a mobility problem, and perhaps most importantly, trust problem. Sorry for speaking about so many problems, but I think sometimes we have to call things right way, and we have to contextualize it in the right way. I'm not actually saying that I'm holding the truth and I'm doing it the right way, but as I said at the very beginning, I'm sharing the perspective of the regional organization, how we perceive things. So this is the context in which public employment services are now operate. They were long seen mainly as institutions that register job seekers, administer benefits, and match people with vacancies. That role still matters, but I hope you would agree with me, this is not longer enough. Today, public employment services are becoming strategic institutions. Bridges between people and opportunities, employments and skills, education systems and labor market side needs national reforms and European standards. To that end, employment policy can no longer be treated as social policy alone. It is now competitiveness policy, demographic policy, productivity policy, and part of the European integration agenda. We still have unemployed people, inactive people, and young people struggling to enter the labor market, and those are the well-known facts. But at the same time, companies cannot find workers with the right skills. For me, and I call it employment paradox. The issue is no longer only how many jobs exist, but whether people are ready for the job that are emerging. This is where I see and we see public employment services can be part of the solution. By turning labor market intelligence into action, identifying skills gaps early, supporting reskilling and upskilling, activating people outside of the labor market, and connecting vulnerable groups with real opportunities. But to do this, as you know better than I do, employment services need better data, stronger digital tools, counselors equipped for more complex world, and partnership with education providers, employers, and local communities. Artificial intelligence definitely can help map skills, forecast demand, and improve services, but trust will still be built by people. The counselor of the future will not be replaced by technology. The counselor of the future will need to work with technology, interpret it, and humanize it. At the Regional Cooperation Council, we are also adjusting to these challenges and to new reality. Through Employment and Social Affairs platform, we work, as you may know already, with partners across the Western Balkans to strengthen employment and social policies, support alignment with EU standards, and encourage practical cooperation among institutions. One example is the Public Employment Services Bench Learning Exercise within Employment and Social Affairs platforms of RCC, modeled on the EU methodology. It helps public employment services assess performance and learn from one another. This may sound too technical, but it is strategic. Institutions improve when they compare, learn, adapt, and measure themselves honestly. And in our region, we need much more of that. We need to move from commitments to implementation. This is at least what citizens are expecting from us. From projects to system, and from labor market diagnosis to practical pathways for people. That is why we work with government across the Western Balkans and the Southeast Europe on human capital development, on digital transition, on green transition, on mobility of skilled people, to help the region move towards higher added value economies, new growth models, and stronger productivity. If we fail, the region may remain discussed by others, but bypassed by investments, talents, and opportunities. But if we succeed, we can move from brain drain to brain circulation, from skills mismatch to skills mobility, from fragmented labor markets to regional functionality, and from semi-convergence to real transformation. This is the task before us, and that is why public employment services matter more today than ever before. RCC remains ready to work with you in facing these challenges. I wish you a productive 2 days conference and practical conclusions. Thank you very much.
And for me it is also a very great honor to invite Mr. Edis Arifagić, National Coordinator for Bosnia and Herzegovina at the International Labour Organization. Mr. Arifagić, take the floor, please.
Don't be spooked by the size of my speaking notes. I had to do big font so I can actually read them. So this should be mercifully short. Dear friends and colleagues, it is an absolute privilege to talk to you today and to welcome you to Sarajevo for this incredibly important gathering that has been generously and incredibly organized by our friends from the Labor and Employment Agency of Bosnia and Herzegovina, of course within the WAPES regional framework. As my fellow speakers have noted, I think repeatedly, we are living through a period of unprecedented labor market transformation. Across Europe and beyond, our economies are dealing with issues that are unlikely to go away, ranging from demographic decline, persistent labor and skills shortages, technological changes manifested through digital transformation and artificial intelligence, and we can't help but feeling ill-equipped at times to deal with many of these challenges. Education and training systems are in parallel struggling to meet the demands of labor markets that are themselves going through profound changes. The Western Balkans region in particular is experiencing these changes very directly. I think my predecessors have also noted the sheer volume and number of issues that we're having to deal with, from skills matching, labor mobility, the need to create opportunities that actually encourage young people to stay in the region and to build their futures here rather than looking elsewhere for prosperity and for a more normal life. Public employment services are therefore operating in an environment that is becoming more complex, more demanding, and more dynamic with every new year. Many speakers at this conference will rightfully focus on the technical aspects of this process: how to employ artificial intelligence, how to do labor market forecasting, how to do better skills matching, and how to modernize the work of the public employment services. These discussions are absolutely essential because we must be capable of adapting to technological change and harnessing the potential that it represents for all of us. We must all become more responsive, more innovative, and more effective in supporting workers and employers through this transition. But while we focus on technology and modernization, I believe that it is equally important to keep one principle in mind. Technological progress must go hand in hand with social progress. labor markets are not shaped by technology and by governments alone. They are shaped primarily by people, by workers working in at-risk industry sectors that are having to adapt to a shifting economy, by young people entering the labor market often ill-equipped to meet the demands of employers, by individuals currently residing outside of the labor market that we would actually like to activate, and by employers that we frequently leave out of discussions and conversations that are taking place. As we know, technological progress can create enormous opportunities, improve productivity, and create new industries, making services more efficient and accessible. However, if societies are not prepared for transition, technological change can also deepen inequalities, increase insecurity, and leave great numbers of people behind. This is why social progress matters just as much as technological progress. And this is where the role of social dialogue becomes essential. And I'm sorry, Ivan and Sanela, when we invite the ILO, we're going to talk about social dialogue. I mean, that's simply unescapable. In practice, this means that lasting solutions cannot be built by technology operating in vacuum or governments operating independently of their social partners. We need cooperation between governments, employers, workers, education providers, and public institutions alike. Especially in times of rapid transformation, people need to feel that they are part of the process of change and not simply subject to it. Social dialogue can help create trust, legitimacy, and shared responsibility. And public employment services have a particularly important role to play in this process. You are no longer only institutions of job matching or labor market administrations. Increasingly, you are institutions that help people navigate transition, connect workers with new opportunities, support skills development, and provide guidance at moments of profound uncertainty and insecurity. In this sense, public employment services are not only supporting labor market, but they are also vital in enabling a greater degree of social cohesion across society. And that role will become even more important in the years ahead, with more migrant workers entering the domestic labor market. Ultimately, the success of this period of transformation will not be measured only by the speed of technological innovation, but rather we must consider whether our societies are becoming more fair, more inclusive, and more cohesive. Our challenge, therefore, is not simply to modernize labor markets, it is to ensure that technological progress goes hand in hand with social progress. And if we succeed in doing that, then this period of change can represent an opportunity to build stronger economies, to create more resilient institutions, and generate more inclusive societies. I thank you, and best of luck for the 2 days ahead.